Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Much better now. Got the chairs fixed. Welcome back to the program. My name is Mike Biroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on The Rundown, 2A Views, conservative news. And Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. It is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as we like to say, the fun is all in the trying.
That's it. Do our best. We do our best to get it rolling a little early, you know?
Exactamundo. Which, once again, it's always for me, man, especially right now, being in the middle of the congressional race, it's always harder to do it because it's like literally I've got two full-time jobs.
Yeah, I long for the day where I only had two full-time jobs. That'd be nice. Remember those days?
It reminds me of that old Saturday Night Live skit. Like, how many jobs you got, man? I'm the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I'm a cab driver. Oh, 3 jobs. Oh, you lazy man.
Only 3. Yeah.
Hey,
So
man, you know
poor.
what? That's
Yep.
the one thing I will tell you. It's the interesting thing. And I don't know what it's like in Florida, but in California, it's like everyone's got their job and then they have a side hustle.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't, what are you doing? Why are you being so lazy? You know, it's just no bums allowed.
I'm serious. There are only a handful of people I know. Although I will say this, the ones who are the worst are the ones with the multi-level marketing because they don't realize that in almost every single case, it's a pyramid scheme. You only really make money if you get someone in. The actual product and whatnot that you're selling may be nice, may be great, may be wonderful, but for the most part, the people that are really making money are people who are signing other people up to be in the business.
You know, Craig. No matter what somebody tries to sell me, I don't care if it's there's a new CD special going on at the bank or they're coming in the door, hustling the latest widget. My first question or my first statement is always, this sounds like a pyramid scheme. Just to watch their reaction, because a lot of people are like, 90% of them are legitimate products, but when you say pyramid scheme, they get all upset. It's not a pyramid. I'm telling you, there's a way to.
You
make
sound
money.
like you've heard this opposition before.
Yeah. Yeah, way to have fun with salespeople.
Yeah, and there are tons of people who make really good money at it, and more power to you. Just realize that the hardest ones for me are the people who don't get that. Look, it may be great for you. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no use in that product. Don't you care about your family's future? Not particularly.
Well, I do care about my family's futures, which is why I focus on my business.
Right. Well, I'm talking about the responses you give to the salespeople.
Oh yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, folks, let's get into the program. But before we do, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hey, let's say good day to our friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. If you got an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels, don't even know it. Now you can buy from them factory direct for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure you check out that California 6th congressional race while you're there. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And of course, if you want the best in tactical gear around, whether you're going indoors, outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, whatever it is, minus the gun, you can get everything you want at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Take a moment, visit our sponsors. Make sure, by the way, their links are in the description to this program. Visit them, check them out. If you like what you see, spend some money with them. And make sure you tell them that it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you.
Yep.
All right, into today's news stories. So this first one probably isn't news. It is more probably just confirmation of something that you already knew, and that has to do with our good friend George Soros. You know, that America-loving, freedom, liberty-minded George Soros, the one who funded $40 million to district attorneys throughout the country, so that they could undermine our criminal justice system and put criminals back out on the street. The one who funds liberal politicians so that they can once again undermine and destroy our way of life. Yeah, that guy. Well, I'm sure to you it is no surprise that George Soros has actually also been funding groups behind pro-Hamas protests. That's right, George Soros. Now, what's funny about this is George Soros is Jewish, or at least claims to be Jewish. Now, obviously, he will admit his family they made their fortune, basically going through and getting access to the stolen resources or monies or wealth items, whatever you want to call it, that were owned by Jews. And basically, he got rich off of stealing money from Holocaust era Jews. Anyway, all that having been said, it says here, this is over at Breitbart. George Soros has funneled over $15 million in the last 7 years to pro-Hamas groups behind the terror-sympathizing protests following the October 7 attack on Israel, a report revealed. The far left billionaires grant-making network, the Open Society Foundation, distributed $13.7 million through Tides Center, a deep-pocketed lefty advocacy group that sponsors several nonprofits who've justified Hamas's bloody attacks. The New York Post revealed, with a review of its records revealed. Beneficiaries of the Tides Center include Adala Justice Project, which posted an image to Instagram of a bulldozer tearing down Israel's borders fence down on the day Hamas terrorists carried out the massacre of Israelis. So this is the meme that they posted. And for those of you who are just listening, it says Israeli colonizers believed they could indefinitely trap 2 million people in an open-air prison. No cage goes unchallenged. Now, Mike, you and I know this is no real surprise, is it?
No. Then listen, can we address for a moment the old George Soros thing as a Nazi or Nazi sympathizer? Hungarian Jew, by the way. Hungarian Jews, 500,000 were killed by the Nazis during World War II. Craig, remember the story came out? It was about 3-4 years ago, and they said he was a Nazi sympathizer, and they found a picture of him in uniform. Well, I think the uniform picture ended up being contested, but they did find that although he wasn't a Nazi, he did go with Nazis to do inventories of people's homes after they'd been taken away and sent to the camps. That he was an errand boy for them. He worked for the Nazis, but he wasn't a Nazi. So he was like, he was a Nazi employee, but not a Nazi.
Right.
And then, of course, as you said, Craig, after the war, now the Nazis were gone, right? But you had 6 million Jews that had their property taken from him, and his family made their fortune off of that. But the Nazis were gone, so he wasn't a Nazi sympathizer for taking advantage of the Nazis, crimes against his own faith. But not a Nazi, right? According to the news media. So USA Today and the major networks came out and said he's not. So he must not be one. But no surprise at all.
Which is, by the way, is interesting considering the fact that the media is convinced that Donald Trump is a Nazi, and I don't even know if he's ever been to Germany.
Yeah. Once, because I saw him tell the prime minister just to go away. Remember, he wouldn't even talk to her.
I do remember that. She went to shake his hand, and he's like, "No, I'm going to stand over here with these guys and take a picture."
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Yeah, and he shouldered his way forward and all that. But no surprise here at all, right? That this guy's funding money towards the elimination of Jews. And listen, this guy's so conceited and rich, Craig, that even if he says he's 100% Jew, he wants the lesser Jews gone because he wants to be the Highlander of Jews. I think is what he wants. I think that's really what he wants to be. He wants to be the only one.
Well, first of all, I think there's a fundamental difference between, like you said, people who are There are people who are cultural Jews and people who are
Yes.
religious Jews. Or you
This is
talked
what we
about
talked
yesterday.
about yesterday, right?
Yeah,
He's saying he's Jewish because that was his family's faith.
right.
Okay, well, listen. My mother was a different religion than my father. Do I get to claim I'm both? Because it's in. I have a religion in my bloodline. How do you don't have a religion in your bloodline? That's not how
Well,
it
now is
works.
it because he's saying it because it was his bloodline, or is he saying because it was his faith?
He's never said
Oh,
everybody every story about him is he's there. His family are Jewish from Hungary. His
right.
families are
Well,
Jews. His family is Jewish from Hungary.
I just find it once again interesting that he would allow so much of his money, and the truth is the man is worth a whole lot of money, and $17 million is probably more like $100 to you and me.
Yeah,
But I still would be very, very angry if $100 of my money, money that I meant to go to benefiting, charities and went to an organization like that. It, once
I
again,
think that's the point.
yeah,
Hamas is one of his charities. You know.
right. Well, he's once again he is I'm a firm believer that he is a neo-Marxist. He is interested in the complete and utter destruction of the West, of Western civilization, and he
Yeah.
doesn't care if it goes to organizations that will destroy Israel, that will destroy America, that are committed to destroying America and killing all non-Muslims. And let's be clear, Hamas is dedicated to first and foremost the annihilation of Jews and the Jewish state. After that,
Yeah.
it's all the infidels have to go. But he doesn't care
Yeah.
because he's all about the destruction of society so that out of the ashes will rise some miraculous new thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, correct. Pulling my source up, Craig. Soros and his family, who are Jewish, escaped persecution from the Holocaust by using false identity papers. I love this part, though. It says there's no evidence Soros aided the Nazi regime, which ended when he was 14. However, as you scroll down, it says here that when he was 13 years old, he was sent to live with a phony godfather. At one point, took him to do inventory of Jewish people's homes, but he was not involved with the confiscating of the goods, just the inventorying, Craig. And then he was also sent to run errands for the Jewish people, or for the Nazis, to give up the names of people that were to be rounded up later. But he didn't take part in the rounding up of the people later.
I love that the parsing of like, okay, well, you're like he was a Nazi, but not a Nazi.
Yeah. It was in there. That was it. It was in there.
I don't know. Once again, I just think that one only need look at the political positions that he's taking now in modern day and realize there is a level of evil that he is capable of. And
Oh, yeah.
the evil that he has wrought on America's urban inner cities through the politicians that he has supported, the policies that he has promoted, and then throughout the world with the organizations that he has funded, I would not be surprised at all if some of George Soros' money went directly to terrorist organizations. Now, maybe not directly. He's too smart to have it go directly. But if some of it wound up with terrorist organizations, wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not saying I have any news or information. I'm not making any claims. I'm just saying if I saw it, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, this guy's less Jew and more Emperor Palpatine than anything else.
Emperor Palpatine. There you go. Moving right along, is Latin America conspiring against the U.S.? Now, this is an interesting one because this is a story that actually comes to us from Fox News. It says here, migrant caravan organizer claims Latin American nations conspiring against the U.S., fueling the border crisis. It says here, one of the organizers of a migrant caravan of thousands of people traveling through Mexico toward the U.S. southern border claim that Latin American countries are conspiring against the United States to fuel the immigration crisis, adding that he believes the Biden administration has dropped the ball. This is not normal. Yeah, duh. This is being used by the countries to make sure they get what they want from the United States. Caravan organizer Ireneo Mujica told Real America's Voice on camera. and Joe Biden has lost. Has lost. I'm completely stunned. Where is American intelligence? Don't they know that all the countries are conspiring against the United States to make sure they have this crisis being made so that they can charge for that crisis? In other words, Mike, what he's saying is when they start talking about, you hear Kamala Harris talk about root causes. What they're talking about, what they're talking about is, yeah, the root cause is send us some money and we'll stop letting the migrants come through our countries up to the United States.
Yeah, just more of this, Craig. I mean, how much more do we need to see before we understand before everybody fully understands? You and I understand. I think those that educate themselves understand why we're allowing these people into the country, who's sending these people into the country, who's making the deals to send these people into the country, and who's allowing them to come into this country when they're here. This is just, so much of this gone now, where we're 3 years into this administration, watching this is going to cause destruction for years and years to come. And, for many different administrations are going to have to deal with this problem from, these idiots like, Kamala and Biden and all the deals they're making with Latin and South America.
Well, and, the thing is once again, it's not just, what gets me frustrated sometimes is the way they talk about this stuff. It's like, first of all, the left conflates all immigration is immigration. Everybody coming from another country is immigration. And they go after this country and they're like, well, we need to support immigration. Well, no, there's legal immigration, and then there are people who are violating the law by illegally crossing our southern border. And they want to treat both groups like they're the same. And they want to act like Republicans are treating both groups like they're the same. And they're not. They really are not. And by the way, that doesn't mean that we should have just open and free immigration even through the legal process. Immigration is best if it benefits a country, right? Meaning we need to have a control over who's coming into the country. What are they bringing with them in terms of skills and resources? Are they going to be a net negative or a net positive to our society? And we need to have policies that address that. And if there's someone who's going to be a net positive, then we need to try and find a way to expedite that. Not only say expedite's not the remove unnecessary barriers from that process so that those who are going to be a benefit can get in easier. And those who are going to be a net negative, well, we can only absorb so much of the world's problems. And that's just a reality, right? I mean, there was a time in which we just took anybody. But even then, the people who were coming to the United States were largely people who had skills and resources and a desire to be American. Now what we're doing is we're telling people, well, come to America and you don't ever have to be American. You don't have to become American. You can still be wherever you came from, but you don't have to adopt the values that made this country great. The problem is that attitude is turning this country or areas of this country more like the nations where these folks are coming from rather than the United States of America. The problem is, if that was such a good thing, they wouldn't be coming to America.
Perfectly stated. Listen, I could go into it for a while, but you're correct. When you come here with a skill, you're something that this America needs to help make the country greater. Wonderful. When you come here and you want to suck on our welfare systems and deprive taxpayers of more of their money because we got to send more of our taxes to help care for you, not so good, not so much.
Right. Exactly. And ultimately, and once again, when I talk about benefiting the United States, I'm not talking about it in a greedy fashion. I'm saying that we have a system that is set up that if people are not growing financially prosperous, if they're not becoming prosperous economically, then it's even more difficult for us to help people here who are in need. If we are doing poorly, then if we're not taking care of home, we can't take care of any place else.
Listen, it's a numbers game, Craig. We cannot take all of the world's hard cases. You can't take all of the world's poverty, because when you bring that all here, all we're going to have is all the world's poverty, and we still have the same system to try and support them. But now you have one supporting 1,000 instead of one supporting 10. It's just you can't do it. Can't do it.
A great example. All right, here's a great example. It's kind of like saying, okay, well, I'm overweight. I need to lose weight, so I'm going to join a gym. Now, I'm not going to actually work out. I'm not going to actually change what I'm eating. I'm not going to change anything about myself. I just now have a gym membership. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't fix the world it doesn't fix anything for people for them to come here. It doesn't fix their country, number one. Number two, it doesn't improve the world as a whole. All it is a drag on the United States. And it's a drag on the entire world. If you wanna be here, number one, we're a nation of laws. So follow the law in coming here. Number two, we're the land of opportunity, meaning look for opportunity, look to take advantage of opportunities, not take advantage of the people or take advantage of the government.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Moving right along. All right, funding aid to Israel. Now, one of the things that, and I saw this article at NPR. Actually, I saw it at a few places. And they're talking about how Republicans are talking about planning aid to Israel. And they're saying they want to do it by using IRS funds. Now, Mike, the funny part about this is the money that they want to use, they basically want to go, and that money that went to fund the 87,000 IRS agents, the expansion of the IRS so that they can go after Americans in order to fleece them and take more of their money. That's where they're looking at getting the money from. But what gets me about this, Mike, and what the most important thing about this is that what they're saying is, look, we can't just say we're going to hand out money and not have a means to pay for it. Whether or not you agree with the money coming from the IRS, I like the mentality. I like the idea of, if we're going to do something, let's figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What a unique idea, Craig, right? To figure out where the money's going to come from, rather than just, we got this, the money tree Congress here. They're just saying we're going to give it to you, and we're going to give it to you because we'll just make more, right? We'll take it from elsewhere and give it to you. Now, it's nice that it's redirected from the IRS agents, but that money shouldn't be going elsewhere. That money should be going back into the general fund, right? As to pay down the deficit, rather than used to just, it's already been allocated. Let's just go ahead and send it somewhere else.
So here's the opposition the Democrats have to this. They say Democrats oppose the bill on two fronts. They say the Ukraine money cannot be separated from Israel, and they say emergency funding of this type is not usually offset with cuts. White House Press Secretary KJP said Monday that politicizing our national security interests is a non-starter. But Mike, think about who's actually politicizing our national security. I mean, Democrats are the ones that are trying to tie all of the funding together. They're saying, look, we don't have enough support. We can't get Republicans to support funding for Ukraine. So let's do this. Let's tie it to the funding for Israel. And by the way, let's also throw in some border wall funding. And that's how we're going to get Republicans to support it. I mean, who's politicizing what's going on in Israel?
Yeah, right. It's amazing, Craig, to watch, the workings and crooked dealings, coming out of DC when it comes to, where our money goes, and where it's been allocated, and yet they're trying to, go back and change the to address on where we're writing these checks to.
Right. And don't get me wrong. Here's what I will tell you. This sort of stuff is the way deals are done in Washington. It sucks, but it is. They tie funding, or they put stuff in bills that have nothing to do with the other, and that's how they get people. They either do it to get people to support something that they otherwise wouldn't support in order to get something that they want, or they do it so that they can use it as a political weapon when someone doesn't support it, They say, well, we gave you an opportunity to fund to send support to Israel, and you chose not to. So they use it as a political weapon.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Anyway, sucks, sad, but that's the way sometimes stuff is done in Washington, D.C. Now, this last story is one that, Boris Johnson, who is actually known for putting his foot in it, made a statement, or has made a series of statements that question the purpose or the reason for COVID. I wanted you to, I directly made it a point to make sure not to give away the punchline on this one. This is actually over at the New York Post. You may have seen the article. It says here, Boris Johnson suggested that COVID was nature's, notice that's in quote, way of dealing with old people. It says here, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson suggested that the coronavirus pandemic was pathetic and nature's way of dealing with old people, and an inquiry was told. In his notebook in 2020, the government's former chief scientist, Sir Patrick Vallance, wrote that the ex-PM's attitude was laid bare in a bonkers set of exchanges in a WhatsApp group with the then British leader. Vallance wrote in August 2020 that Johnson was obsessed with older people accepting their fate and letting the young get on with life and get the economy going. In December 2020, Vallance wrote that Johnson said he believed he had been acting early on the pandemic, which killed over 230,000 Brits alone, and that the public are with him, but his party is not. Now, Mike, I'm going to give you first opportunity to kind of comment on this. Okay. First of all, what are your thoughts? Number one, on what Boris Johnson said, and then number two, on just the concept of COVID and old people in general.
So to make sure I understand this, according to Boris Johnson, he said that COVID was nature's way of dealing with old people. That's what he said, right? That's what we're agreeing upon. Said. Okay. How old is Boris now? I think we might be slipping the realms of sanity here with this guy. If he was obviously a little tumultuous, reign, administration there. Why he's no longer the prime minister. But this is some crackpot kind of science right here, right, Craig? Where it's God's will. He's probably the same one that, right? Did he believe that, or the people, not him, that people believe that God sent AIDS here to get rid of gay people, right? Wasn't that the same kind of mentality?
Yes. Well, all right. So so this is my thinking. Number one, there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, I think there is a recognition that the number one comorbidity is being over the age of 65. That and obesity accounted for something like 90% of people who had serious complications and or died from COVID. Right.
Right.
That's the huge bulk of it. And most people were ignoring that. So, and once again, this being in the early days, it shows a recognition of that. It was the whole nature's way that got me, because I'm like, well, wait, if we now know that this was a lab leak out of the Wuhan lab, one has to wonder, China being a nation that is growing older by the day, that has a serious population problem. They have a demographic problem because their citizenry is becoming much older, and they're not having enough kids to be able to pay for the social welfare benefits of the seniors, of the people who are, by the way, are having relatively long lifespans there in China. Was it nature's way of dealing with old people, or was it China's way? The Chinese government's way of dealing with old people.
Yeah, listen, and as far as the way Chinese government wants to deal with old people, Craig, they've got no problem with just, Old people just go live out there. Just go out in the desert and whatever. They'll kill them, or they'll set them up for death. Right? They're not concerned about the welfare of their citizens. And as far as, like you said, there's not enough young people making money there to support the old people. Well, Craig, it's kind of hard to tax 5 cents a day. It really is. So
I'm just once again, I'm just saying that, number one, I think there's the issue of, well, could COVID have been a way of population control by the Chinese government? Is that beyond them?
No, absolutely not. Listen, we now we know. We didn't know in 2020, right? And all the evidence is there that this was manufactured in the Wuhan lab. Now, whether it was meant to escape the lab or not, I think is still up for debate. But it was definitely created by them to theorize that they did this to help their own population control. Yeah. Hey, what are you telling me we could design a flu that only kills old people? Yeah. Get it going. Yeah. I could see China doing that. Yeah.
Well, and so the one argument against that was, if they were looking to do that and then take it and then say, and this is once again dealing with the lab leak, whether it was intentional or not. If it were intentional and they meant it as a way to control the older population, I would have guessed they would not have limited people's ability to travel within China, because they made it so you couldn't travel from one province to another. They did, however, allow people to travel from China to other places in the world. So,
well, China, they like to export everything they have, right? That's how they make their money.
Well, I think they realized that they were in the midst of an event, a health event that was going to severely affect them and affect their economy, and they did not want to be the only ones. They figured, why should they be put at a disadvantage compared to the rest of the world? And I think they used it to take full advantage. And I'm not saying they released it intentionally. I'm saying that they allowed the spread to happen because, well, they didn't want to be the only ones.
Yeah, well, at that point, like you said, now it's gotten beyond them. They're looking for a cure. If it's a Chinese disease only or a virus only, the rest of the world's kind of paying attention to it. But as soon as it's on our doorsteps, now we're all working for a cure. So that's a plausible theory.
Well, not just a cure, but they're also not put behind economically, right?
Correct.
They're in other words, they're no longer at a disadvantage because they had to deal with this. Now, all of a sudden, they're on the same footing with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Or the rest of the world is brought to their level.
Yep. Yeah, good theory. I could see it.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting. Boris Johnson. I just think, dude is kind of whacked out. But created an interesting discussion.
Yeah. No, we got to get him together with Biden and Fetterman. Let the three of them have a conversation.
Oh. Right. All right, that brings us to our parting shots, which are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All righty then. Let's see here. All right, so we missed a few really good memes yesterday dealing with Halloween. So we decided that we're gonna add them to today's parting shots. This first one, you've got a young man naked with a cigarette in his mouth and sunglasses on, and looks like a bottle of champagne, and his mother looking at him kind of in shock, saying, "No, you can't be Hunter Biden for Halloween."
There you go. That's good stuff.
I'm impressed that the kid knows who Hunter Biden is.
Well, the kid likes to party,
He does appear to like to party. Mm-hmm. All right. Then we've got this little piece right here. There we go. For those of you, by the way, who are just listening or just listening, it's a couple of Secret Service agents and Joe Biden, and Joe Biden basically takes a tumble.
Yeah, 10-year-olds dress up for Halloween as them. Yes.
Yes, 10-year-olds dressed up as Biden and Secret Service agents. It's hilarious. Yep. It's hilarious.
Yep.
Anyway, moving right along, there's a new movie that's coming out, and I think it is. It is a Disney movie that I think even Republicans will want to go see. What's the name of that movie, sir?
Disney Pixar brings you Rittenhouse.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what. I'll bet you that movie would break all sorts of records.
Oh, yeah, this could be like on a Cars level. Yeah, it's going to go way up there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And finally, for those who this is kind of in the interest of our last story, for those of you who believe in and keep saying follow the science, this meme says this: do not call it science if you aren't allowed to question it. Call it a belief system, call it a religion, call it a cult, but stop calling it science. Kind of funny how they do that, isn't it? They always are calling it and referring to stuff as science that really isn't science.
I'll just put the word science on there. That way they can't argue with me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
Is that how that works? Okay.
no, it's not. It's how they think it works,
Yeah,
but it's not
yeah.
really how it works.
Right.
That's
right.
not how any of this works.
No. No.
Okay. It's about that time, folks, so we're about done. But before we do, it's time to once again recognize and acknowledge our phenomenal sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get rifle and pistol caliber barrels available. Any length you want for your rifle or AR build. Check them out. Glock barrels now available. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Please check out that California 6th congressional race. Get your checkbooks out when you do that as well. And if you want to go out and get all tactical and you need some tactical gear to do it, whether you're indoors, outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, you get everything but the gun at uscombatgear.com.
And folks, that will be it for today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors, let them know that you appreciate them helping us share our time with you. In any case, thank you so much. Y'all take care. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Holla at you soon.